Welcome back to TheChowTimePod. It's your host, Red. Got a video today from Alexander Grace. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. I really appreciate that. Let's get that. Ciao. It's Chow Time.
Want a man to spend money? Just tell him he's broke. Is it harsh? Yes. Is it ethical? Probably not. But does it f***ing work? Yeah.
Probably.
I want you to say, I mean, if you can't afford it, that's like totally fine. You can just tell me that. Because what they're going to say is, no, it's not that. I can afford it.
Have you ever noticed that women seem to take a distinct pleasure in making sure that men know where they exist in the hierarchy, making sure men know their place? It's like women everywhere collectively understand that it's their social and moral duty to stratify men, to rank them based on status so that no man ever forgets where he sits. When this woman implies that he is broke, she is consciously and intentionally provoking his insecurity about where he sits in the hierarchy because that's going to make him easier to manipulate. There will never, ever be a movement of male egalitarianism where all men are treated equally, because having men ranked by status and existing inside a clear hierarchy is hugely beneficial to women. This is true across the animal kingdom. During mating season for deer, when you see two bucks butting heads against each other, slamming into each other with their antlers, fighting for dominance, you never see the female deers, the does, stepping in trying to stop them. They never prevent the men from fighting, never saying, no, calm down guys, no need to fight, we love you both equally. No, it's in the female's best interest that the males fight with each other, that they compete. Because once it's clear who's on top, who the best male is, then mate selection becomes really easy. And of course, for a lot of animal species, this results in a form of polygyny, where the top male mates with lots of females. Think lions, think gorillas, think elephant seals. The top male beats out all the competition and then secures all the women for himself. Now, you might think that this arrangement would be terrible if it was practiced by humans. Because if that tiny percentage of men who are rich, good looking, have high status, if they secure all the women for themselves, that's going to be a problem, because you have a huge number of depressed, sexually frustrated men who have no access to women. They never get to reproduce, and so they have no ongoing investment in the culture, in the society. And so, of course, for the vast majority of men, it is beneficial to live in a culture with socially enforced monogamy. One man, one woman. Equal distribution. But you need to understand that the stakes for women with regards to monogamy versus polygyny is not nearly as high. In a polygynous culture, women have way less to lose.
People like to call me empty because I'm married for money, not love. But you know what's not empty? My bank account. Is love gonna get you through this recession? I didn't think so, baby. Life's a bitch. Marry rich. Go find rich husband.
Think about it. If the male hierarchy in our culture became more rigid, and it was obvious that you had the majority of men working as slaves, propping up that tiny percentage of men at the top, that would suck for most guys, because that would be the end of their genetic line. Finished. Over. No children for those men. But it's not going to be the same for women. They're not going to suffer that fate. They still get to reproduce. You can even make the case that women are safer inside a culture that has a strictly stratified male hierarchy. Because if all of the power and resources of a culture are concentrated in the hands of just a few men, women can easily band together and ingratiate themselves with those high status men, gain their protection, gain their resources. And a rigid hierarchy will be extremely effective at—
It's crazy that he's arguing that women prefer polygamy over monogamy, how our society's had things set up, not anymore.
squashing dissent,
That's
protecting
funny.
against any collective violence or rebellion against
Makes
women.
sense.
My point is that any vision of a coalition of men working together, supporting each other, helping each other out as equals, that will not be supported by women, because male egalitarianism is not in women's best interest. Women want men to constantly be fighting each other. They want men to be competing, which is why women feel like it's their social and moral duty to enforce the hierarchy, to make sure that all men know their place and that they never step out of line.
Next question. What's the biggest thing you hate about women?
The biggest thing I hate about women is that, you know, that one Billie Eilish quote, she said,
You give an ugly guy a chance, he thinks he rules the world.
That's it right there.
Okay.
You look at that statement, you see how invalid that is. As a young man coming up, you see how they're just trying to put you down, okay? Now, if the roles were reversed, this would be a cancelable offense for us.
Okay.
Correct.
You understand that?
Okay.
So I think that, you know, there's double standards okay? And we have to look at these. We don't let this shit slide.
When a woman is cruel to a man just because he's ugly or low status, it might seem disgraceful to us. But to the woman who is shaming the man, her cruelty can actually make her feel morally virtuous. She feels like she's engaging in a holy mission, helping out all womankind by making sure that the hierarchy continues and that low-value men know their place. To women, that's a noble cause. She feels like she's helping. I mean, hasn't it struck you as odd that women who position themselves as the
that thought process, I guess it makes sense, because when we think about like the Spartans, or like how the wives over there was really kept that social hierarchy. If you weren't going to go fight in war, you were nothing. Even, mothers would kill their sons for being pansies and things like that. So yeah, I never even thought about how it translated now into the more modern world. And that's just, the shame men for lacking, in a sense.
The caring, nurturing gender have zero sympathy for the male loneliness epidemic. For so many women, when they are told about the plight of young men who are socially awkward, who are virgins, who can't get dates, rather than show compassion, their instinct is to attack and shame those men. It is the ultimate act of punching down, and it seems unforgivably cruel. When a shy or ugly or otherwise low-status man dares ask a woman out, she feels compelled to put on this big public display of her rejection, making sure everybody sees this man get put in his place. And this cruel behavior can seem inexplicable on the surface, but you need to understand her actions in light of what her goals are. She's not trying to raise the self-esteem of men. She does not view that as her role. She doesn't want those men to feel good about themselves. She wants those low-value men to know their place at the bottom of the hierarchy and don't dare upset that status ranking. And from that perspective, you can see why she thinks that her acts of cruelty are actually acts of virtue. She's fulfilling her duty. Enforcing and maintaining the hierarchy is her top priority. It comes before anything else, including any form of consistency.
Things that men do are only creepy if you don't like the man. If you like the man, he can pretty much do anything. So it's really hard to be like, hey, this is something you shouldn't do as a man. Because if I like you, it's going to be okay.
This is obvious to anybody who's been paying attention. Women have zero consistency in the ways that they treat men. If you're rich, if you're good looking, if you have high status, then all of your behavior will be approved of by women. Rewarded, in fact. But that same behavior by a guy who's short, ugly, broke is creepy and disgusting. The men who think that this is some kind of smoking gun, like, aha, proof, we got you. We caught you in your double standards. We can see your hypocrisy. Nah. You've completely missed the point. Women are not hiding these double standards.
No, they're not.
They are actively demonstrating them. They are putting them on public display because they're very useful as a way of maintaining the hierarchy. Women want all men to know that what behavior is deemed acceptable from you as a man depends entirely on your status, because that's what keeps the hierarchy alive. What better way is there for women to stratify men than to have a two-tiered system of rules? To allow high-status men to do some things and to criticize low-status men for that same behavior.
I'd rather have a broke faithful guy or a rich cheater.
Rich cheater, easily, yeah.
You'd rather be cheated on and he just gives you money?
Honestly, yes. All I need in life is clothes.
Every time a rich, powerful, high-status man like a celebrity is exposed for having an affair, the response from women collectively is underwhelming. It's a sort of muted disapproval and like a half-hearted display of outrage. But inside the hearts of many women, they are not indignant, because granting high-status men exceptions is very useful for maintaining the hierarchy. Some A-list celebrity cheats on his beautiful wife. Oh no, that's so terrible. A short, ugly, broke dude cheats on his beautiful wife. What? How could he? This is outrageous.
This is so true. When you see celebrities that marry men that aren't so attractive, you get this. But when you see, Leonardo and Idris Elba type, actors, I'm not saying they cheat or anything, but yeah, they really just kind of allow it to happen and kind of sweep it under the rug. Just like Chris Brown. The whole Chris Brown beating up Rihanna thing. Is it really a thing now? Most women are still paying thousands of dollars to take pictures with this guy, even though he beat up Rihanna.
His biggest sin is not the infidelity. His sin is daring to engage in a behavior that is reserved only for the high status men at the top of the hierarchy. He
Jeez.
upset the order of things as dictated by women.
That's crazy.
That is what is unforgivable. Men across the West are learning this, that there are no rules from women to men as a collective. How you get treated is entirely dependent on how women perceive your status. I found a comedy video that showcases this perfectly. He pulls her hair and she's loving it.
Don't do it, bro!
No.
Fine.
Girls like it.
What girls?
The ones on the internet. There's like a thing blokes do for the girls.
Dirty slags.
Probably, yeah.
Well, I'm not. Piss off.
Yep.
It's so good. Gentlemen, it is essential to understand how strong the female instinct is to make sure the men are constantly fighting each other and competing over ranking. It's like women are hypnotically drawn to act in ways that enforce the hierarchy. They're probably not even aware of why they're doing it. Why is she giving shit tests, being rude to men, making them prove themselves? Why is pre-selection a phenomenon? Women feeling compelled to find attractive those men that other women have designated as attractive. Why the movement to treat all women as queens, to value themselves, to know their worth? Why that was never met and never will be met by a corresponding movement to treat all men as kings, to make all men have high self-esteem? It's because that's not what women want. And the really dark part of all of this is that while men are busy competing with each other, they've been too busy to notice that they've been fighting over crumbs. The whole thing is a giant distraction from what men should be focused on.
Well, men are starting to realize they are fighting for crumbs now. And I always suggest this. It's probably one of the best routes to get a nice piece of bread instead of crumbs.
Focusing on, which is that even for men who technically win, who are at the top of the hierarchy, the prize they get once they arrive is not that great. The value of women has plummeted. They are not worth what they used to be, but women do not want you to realize this. I'm going to explain why and how it all works in the full-length version of this video.
Shout outs to Alex. No, this really got my brain going about how women really kind of. Again, I just think about the 300 movie and is it 300? Yeah, the Spartans and just how they and their society ran and how the women in that society pretty much kept the hierarchy, right? When young men came back from war like pansies and didn't want to fight in war, mothers would kill them because they didn't want the dishonor of these men being pansies. It's the same thing now in modern society, but no, you're just a broke, dusty, statusless men. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. I really appreciate that. And